Here's a little trick that I haven't really shared with a lot of people, and I apologize for that. But when I have someone figuring out how to do filmmaking or do videos or do anything for that matter, what I have them do is I have them play and handle the tools of what they're doing. For example, someone comes along and they go, "Hi, I'm new to this and I have this camera and I want to make videos." And the first thing they do is they dive into manuals and they dive into all the stuff and they open stuff and, oh, look at all these buttons and what does this do and blah, 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 blah. And they go along and they don't really get familiar with it, or they spend hours, weeks, months, sometimes years trying to figure it all out. Part of the problem with it is beneath all that, sitting under this, is maybe this apprehension that you may not be aware of. For instance, are you willing to take your camera and hold your camera and throw it up in the air and catch it? Now, you don't want to drop it, put something down on the floor so it doesn't get hurt, but are you willing to throw your camera up and down in the air? If you don't, you have some apprehension on using the camera, which will come back and give you apprehension on turning on the camera and using the camera because you're afraid you're going to damage it in some way. It's really weird. It's really magical when I've taken people and I've said, okay, first thing we're going to do in filming this video and in teaching you how to use this camera and to make videos is we're going to take your camera and we're going to play with it. And they go, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I know it doesn't make any sense, but that's okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to hold the camera. I want you to grab this thing. I want you to hold it in your hands. I want you to play with it. I want you to turn it around. I want you to throw it up in the air, and I want you to catch the thing. And I want you to get over this apprehension you have on using this equipment and this piece of gear that you're going to damage it or you're going to hurt it. Now, obviously, you're not going to do something stupid and go, okay, well, I'm going to take this, $200 item and throw it out in my garage across the floor. You can do that if you want, but don't come to me saying you broke it. But you should be able to handle this equipment. You should be able to grab your microphone and throw it up in the air and handle it and move it around and plug it in and unplug it. You should be able to do the same thing with your computer. You should be able to do the same thing with your keyboard and all these things where you can you're not apprehensive about handling them. And if you get over that apprehension, then you'll be able to use them. And literally get over any apprehension with your keyboard. Get over it. Use your keyboard. Unplug your keyboard and take it and use it and turn it upside down and open it and close it. Move it backward and forward and flip it from hand to hand until you don't feel any reaction and, oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'm going to drop this thing, until you're like, yeah, I got this, and put the keyboard down. Then do the same thing with your microphone. Let's play with the microphone. Let's move it around. Let's stick our throat right in the thing. Let's stick it in our pocket. Let's flip it around. Let's get over this apprehension of touching this piece of equipment that costs so much money. And do the same thing with your computer, and do the same thing with your video, and do the same thing with everything, all the things that you use around. If you continue to do that, what you'll do eventually is you'll be really confident about the way you handle these things. Now you walk into learning about all these things, and the learning will go through and into your brain, and you'll be able to understand what's going on. You'll be able to see how to do things where you don't understand things, and not trying to learn these things over this apprehensive nature of, oh my gosh, this microphone, it costs, $600 and I'm afraid to touch it and move it. You don't want that, because that's your first barrier to learning right there. Bam! You're like afraid to touch and use these things. So I highly suggest you take your equipment or whatever you're trying to learn to do, just, I don't know, wait till no one's home if you feel stupid or whatever, and just play with these things. Put a towel on a ground or something to protect it in case you do drop it, and play with these things. Toss them back and forth. If you have a friend who you trust, play catch with these things. Toss them back and forth. Stick them in your pocket. Put them up in the air. Throw them up in the air, and just get over this apprehension. And oh my gosh, with this type of equipment. And when you do that, what'll happen is you'll just become a lot more sure of the equipment, a lot more sure of using the buttons, a lot more sure of the settings and everything else, and that'll be gone for the rest of, well, forever. Now you're able to learn it. Now you can go through and toggle the settings. Now you can go through and set up these cameras and everything else without any of the apprehension. If I walk onto a film set, I can immediately tell someone who is not sure of themselves. They fumble around, they touch mics like this. Here, I'm going to adjust this mic now. Let's put it up here. And let's just move this thing over here. They're very apprehensive about touching the gear or using the gear when it's their job. They won't last. I've taken people and done this to them, and after a while they get over that. Just use the thing. Don't abuse the thing, but use the stuff till you get over this apprehension, and then you're done with it. Then you can learn all you can learn on this stuff without worrying about damaging it or hurting it or doing something to it. There's my suggestion. That's the real way to learn something. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Nice.
How was that?
That was good.
That was a lot of blah blah.
A lot of blah.
Someone's going to watch this video and they're going to go, look at me, do blah 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 about this. You sound like my dad. Maybe I am your dad.